Becoming interested in data science was something I didn't really realize I was into when I was younger, but I think I was for a while. My mom always told me I was good at numbers and just quick calculations, right? And I'd always kind of use that to analyze results from teams when they played professionally when I was in middle school and stuff like that. Um, and just the way the game was played, maybe passes and possession and stuff like that. I didn't realize at the beginning that that was considered data science. I hadn't even heard that term, but it's just kind of always something I grew up with and I enjoyed. And now that I know it's a thing, and that it's a career path that you can go into, I'm really pretty excited about that. What I'm studying right now, I guess my two main focuses are Spanish and Intro to Data Science. Um, with the Intro to Data Science course, the thing that kind of caught me off guard is the amount of coding in it, right? Which is I know definitely part of it, and I'm a just continue to work and get better at that, right? Definitely that's definitely not my strength in terms of where it comes to numbers and stuff like that. I think it falls more on the stats side of it. But if I can combine a good knowledge of statistics with the knowledge of coding and stuff like that, I think that would really help benefit me in terms of a career pursuit, maybe in data science. So for Spanish, I grew up right in the Bay Area and playing soccer. I'd say 50%, maybe even more of the people that I grew up playing around spoke Spanish, right, and spoke it quite fluently. So to start off there, I'd say just having the ability to speak to them fluently in another language just sounds great, right? And I also want to see if I can do maybe a semester abroad in Spain, maybe see if I can play soccer there. So knowing Spanish really gives me two main benefits in terms of soccer, which is really cool. There are a few main benefits that I see of it. The first one is that I think it's given opportunity to smaller clubs maybe that don't have the same amount of money and resources that huge clubs do to be able to compete with them, right? You see clubs like Brighton and Brentford doing really well, and they have completely different approaches. And I feel like it's really now the sport is really moving into a new era and a new age. Pretty much every team now will have some sort of data approach to their transfers. So I think it's just that soccer has now become up with the times. You know what I mean? We saw a lot of American sports do. I think one of the first ones mainly was baseball, and and now it just feels like we finally caught up in it, and there are just so many advanced metrics that you can measure things off of, which I think is just really cool. So when I'm watching the game, I'm not really thinking about data at all for the most part, right? I usually go into that after the game, and I just can kind of use it to analyze things. It's cool looking at stuff like expected goals and expected shots against, and just stats where stats that I didn't even know existed a few years ago. You know what I mean? And we can really tell the quality of a team based off those, and the quality of the players. The job it is to put the ball in the back of the net, right? If a team has an expected goals of 3 in a game, but is only ever scoring 1, then maybe you ask questions about how the forwards or stuff like that are doing, and vice versa. If the expected goals is 1, but they're getting 3 every game, that's when those forwards are really good quality players and have the ability to get the ball into the back of the net. So I think it's just really cool, and you can kind of analyze specific players and teams as a whole, just from an outside perspective, which I wasn't able to do, I think, as well before that. Expected goals is quite a complicated stat, and multiple different companies, use it differently and calculate it differently. So you'll see 3 different companies giving 3 different expected goals for a team after a certain game, right? And I think I wouldn't say it's 100% done well either, because it's done based off the shots that teams have taken, right? And if you're for example, shooting, if you have an opportunity to shoot the ball, right, and you're really close to the goal, you expect a shot to be taken, and then you don't get the shot off or something like that. That wouldn't go into expected goals, even though from an outside perspective, just watching the game, you'd expect that to be a goal, right? So I think it's flawed in certain ways, but I still think it's improving. I guess like another thing to consider is, yeah, maybe you have a shot from like 6 yards away, and on like an XG that would look really high. XG is expected goals. But there could be like three defenders in the way. Oftentimes that isn't calculated in. I think it's being calculated more and more now. But and when it first started, when XG first started, that wasn't really like something that was calculated into it. So I think just like figuring out the more variables you add, I think to XG, the better it will become, and that like applies to a lot of different statistics. It's something that I'm very interested. I want to do something around the game as my profession. Like, and obviously, even if I'm not like playing professionally, I still want to be able to like play it right after I graduate, because I feel like academically when I'm playing soccer, I do a lot better. You know what I mean? It's just easier for me to think, and stuff goes through my head a lot easier. So just being around the game would be huge for me. And I think being able to do work around a passion of mine would just be a ton of fun.